Okay, so what if oxygen is not present? Now, there could be several instances when oxygen may not be present in the cellular environment. So, for example, when our muscle cells and our body is undergoing some strenuous exercise and our heart is not able to keep up to provide oxygen to meet the demands that our body's putting on making ATPs, right? That's one instance. You have anaerobic environments in soil, for instance. So there are instances where cells and living things have to deal with conditions where oxygen may not be present. Now, remember that oxygen is the final reduced substance here as part of our electron transport chain in these mitochondria. And as long as we have oxygen present, they can take away those final electrons and we can recreate our NAD that can be used to grab the electrons and carry them. But if this step stops, then we can't continue to convert pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A, and then the citric acid cycle, etc., can't occur. So without oxygen, the ATP production is going to be limited simply to glycolysis. And the reason for that is, well, remember, it occurs out in the cytoplasm. So when oxygen is not present and fermentation occurs from a single molecule of glucose, the cells are only going to get a net gain of 2 ATPs. Now, depending upon the cell that we're talking about or the living thing that we're talking about, we can see fermentation occurring as alcohol fermentation. This is the type of fermentation that bacteria and yeasts undergo during anaerobic or anoxic conditions. And so in this pathway, our pyruvate that's converted during glycolysis is going to be converted into ethanol. And as our pyruvate is converted into ethanol, you remember ethanol from our discussions in lab, it's a 2-carbon sugar. Well, we've got to find out where that other carbon went. So the other carbon comes from carbon dioxide that is produced, right? And carbon dioxide is a gas. So one of the byproducts of alcohol fermentation is when the pyruvate is converted into ethanol, we also liberate some carbon dioxide gas. Now, this doesn't produce any additional ATPs. All we're really doing is recreating the NADs so that we can recycle these electrons, right? Now, fermentation is important in the brewing, winemaking, and baking industry. So if you think about baking homemade bread, you have your yeast, the organisms that are going to go through the fermentation process. They're given a little bit of sugar, and in that flour, you're allowing the yeast to sit there for a while after you make your dough and rise. The dough rises because of the carbon dioxide gas that is produced. And then, of course, the good smell of homemade bread comes from the ethanol that's being evaporated off when the bread is cooking. Now, our muscle cells undergo something called lactic acid fermentation, a very similar pathway where glucose is stripped and converted into pyruvates. This creates our net gain of 2 ATP, and our pyruvate is going to be converted into lactate, which is a 1,2,3 carbon acid. Now, this lactic acid fermentation that occurs again doesn't produce as many ATPs per glucose, and this is why as your body begins to exert itself in strenuous exercise that your muscle contractions get less and less efficient. You're actually making less ATPs per unit of food or unit of glucose. Now, I know we've used glucose as the primary catabolized molecule, but I want to remind you that it's not just simple sugars like glucose that our bodies catabolize to liberate energy. If we think about all of the different organic macromolecules that we talked about, including lipids and fats, larger polysaccharides, proteins, even nucleic acids, each of these can enter the pathway that we discussed at some point. So, for instance, lipids and fats can be converted into many molecules of acetyl coenzyme A as they're catabolized. Well, as long as oxygen is present, we can make these acetyl coenzyme A's. They can spin the citric acid cycle wheel to produce our byproduct of carbon dioxide and liberate all of those electrons that can be carried off to the electron transport chain. Proteins done the same way. By breaking the proteins down into their respective amino acids and then deaminating them, they can be converted into pyruvates or into some intermediates that can enter the citric acid cycle directly. The same holds true with nucleic acids. Our nucleotides can be broken down. Now, the nucleotides and the amino acids are unique because they have that amino group on them. And this amino group is then converted into some metabolic waste products that the body has to get rid of. So this amino, carbon dioxide, and water, these are all metabolic wastes. And it's funny, we think of how our body gets rid of carbon dioxide as we, quote, exhale, or we get rid of this in the form of urea as we create urine. But we don't often think of water as a metabolic waste product. But it certainly is. Metabolic water is created as we convert our foods into ATPs. Now, in organisms like ourselves, it's not enough to sustain ourselves. But many organisms, especially those that live in desert environments where water is a true limiting factor, have developed adaptations to harvest this metabolic water and to more efficiently get rid of these harmful metabolic waste products like urea without losing a lot of water.